Let's begin in Gombe State, where residents of Puwishi village in Kalmai district of Biliri local government area have said no fewer than 5 persons were murdered during the recent invasion by suspected herdsmen. The community members faulted earlier reports which stated that only Malam Yusuf Akwara was killed in the attack. The violence began on Wednesday afternoon and culminated in the burning of over 250 houses as of Thursday morning. A statement signed by the State Police Public Relations Officer ASP Buhari Abdullahi has said a combined team of police officers and 301 Artillery Regiment led by Area Commander Biliri was mobilized to contain the situation. Still talking security, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has deployed a Special Operations Brigade to Sokoto and Kebbi States as part of efforts to eradicate the Lakurawa Sect from the region. The deployment is part of the ongoing operations aimed at eliminating the self-acclaimed jihadist group operating in the 2 northwestern states. According to a statement released in Sokoto, the deployment seeks to boost the successes achieved under an operation to chase out the Lakurawa Sect. Addressing the troops on Friday, Brigadier General Ibikunle Ajose, the General Officer commanding 8th Division of the Nigerian Army and Commander of Sector 2 Operation Fasanyama, conveyed the directives of the Theatre Commander Major General Oluyinka Shoyele. He asked the troops to ensure that the total dismantling of the Lakurawa Sect in the affected areas is totally carried out. Let's also tell you that the General Officer commanding 3 Armored Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, has emphasized the need for empowerment programs that will improve the lives of officers and men of the division, as well as the barrack community. The GOC, who doubles as the Commander Operation Safe Haven, was speaking at the division's headquarters during a one-day empowerment seminar to draw attention of the participants, especially the personnel, to the need for the seminar. News Central's Chizobanyowe completes the reports.
Life after retirement from active service has been seen by many as a difficult one, leaving retirees at the mercy of no one, except being dependent on their family members and loved ones alike. Pension may not be enough for most of them to sustain their livelihood as against while in active service. This is why these participants are gathered under this roof to gain the knowledge of fish farming, one of the skills under agriculture that personnel are allowed to explore while in and out of service.
As we gather in this auditorium, we are reminded of the realities of our current economic landscape, where often our earnings do not keep pace. Today, as we delve into the world of fish farming, a venture that not only promises self-sufficiency, but also empowers our families in the cantonment during and after service years.
In line with the new Chief of Army Staff's mandate of empowering and improving the lives of personnel, these stakeholders are committed in ensuring not just officers of the military are well engaged, but also their dependents.
Accents are coming from Togo, from the Republic, from Ghana, to come to our homes to lay tiles, POP, bricklayer, and all those things. It's a shame for us in Nigeria. This president does not want that to happen again. He also talked about agropreneur. He wants us to turn a lot of Nigeria to entrepreneur in agriculture. And that's why what we are doing today is very important. Life after retirement, what next? Life before retirement, what next? Is a great opportunity for us today to be in front of young people, to open the door to see catfish business and tilapia is very rich. I want to use this opportunity to congratulate the GOC for this initiative, to thank you for availing yourself to lend the element in order to improve the income of the officers, to prepare their mind towards retirement, to improve their livelihoods, as well as generate revenue to the system.
With this intervention, personnel are expected to keep the spirit alive, even in the face of retirement. In Jos for News.
We now talk about revenue allocation. The appeal court in Abuja has set aside all orders restraining the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Accountant General of the Federation from releasing funds to the Rivers State government. The three-member panel, presided by Justice Haman Baraka, held that the subject matter was not within the jurisdiction of the court relating to the revenue of the state. While allowing the appeal of the Rivers State government, the appellate court also set aside all the orders made by Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik, stating that it was unconstitutional for her to make orders restricting Rivers State governments to receive funds due to the state from its consolidated revenue fund. The appellate court held that the lower court overreached itself and did not have the jurisdiction to entertain the matter. Earlier, a legal practitioner, Henry Kine, shared his thoughts on this. We apologize for that. We'll bring you details of that particular story in our subsequent bulletins. Now, meanwhile, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, has said the party's target is to capture Rivers State in 2027. Ganduje stated this while inaugurating the newly elected executive committee of the party in the state, led by Chief Tony Okocha in Port Harcourt, the state capital, on Saturday. He said though the South-South geopolitical zone is largely controlled by the People's Democratic Party, the APC is making inroads in the zone, with Cross River and Edo states already taken by the ruling party. While congratulating the newly elected state executive members, Ganduje said that traditionally in APC, the inauguration of a state chapter is usually done at the headquarters of the APC in Abuja. He emphasized that the party will continue to work together at all levels, adding that the APC national leadership is willing to perform functions for its fold, even at the ward level. Now, the immediate past Deputy Speaker of the Kogi State House of Assembly, Enema Paul, has passed on. The Speaker of the House, Ali Yusuf, confirmed Paul's death in a statement on Saturday through his Chief Press Secretary, Mohammed Yabagi. Paul passed away in a private Abuja hospital early on Saturday morning after battling an undisclosed illness. Yusuf described Paul as a humble, team-playing lawmaker committed to unity and pro-people legislation for the state's development. He noted Paul's devotion to family values and godliness, commiserating with his family and colleagues. Paul, who represented Lakurawa State constituency in the 8th Assembly, stepped down as Deputy Speaker due to health reasons and was succeeded by Comfort Umonchola of Ibaji State constituency. The Speaker prayed for strength for all affected by the loss. Away from that, the leader of the UK's Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, says she is Yoruba and identifies less as a Nigerian because she has nothing in common with people in northern Nigeria, which she described as haven for terror group Boko Haram. Badenoch has been at the receiving end of constant backlash from many Nigerians, including public figures, in recent months due to her sustained criticism of its rampant corruption and volatile security climate in the British media. Many Nigerians have deemed most of Badenoch's comments about the country as unflattering. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who is from the north, has criticized Badenoch for her comments. The Vice President said recently that she could go ahead and change her name if she did not want any association with Nigeria, which he described as the greatest black nation on earth. In the meantime, Frank Shaibu, spokesman for Atiku Abubakar, has urged Vice President Kashim Shettima to focus on more meaningful matters rather than criticizing UK Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch. Badenoch, who sought support from Nigerians during a 2010 UK parliamentary campaign, has since made critical comments about Nigeria, citing corruption and insecurity as reasons for leaving the country. Shettima recently accused Badenoch of disparaging her roots, suggesting she might remove the name Kemi from her name if she feels no pride in Nigeria. Responding on Saturday, Shaibu dismissed Shetima's remarks, stating that Badenoch's Yoruba name does not make her automatically Nigerian. Shaibu added that the vice president should find something useful to do with his time instead of berating the UK lawmaker. The Take It Back movement, a human rights organization in Nigeria, has demanded for the immediate release of the Nigerian female activist, Comrade Abiodun Thomas, also known as Olamide Africano, who was allegedly arrested by the Nigeria police force. The group is calling on the Lagos State Commissioner of Police to order her immediate and unconditional release. This was contained in a release signed by members of the Organizing Committee of End Bad Governance in Nigeria in Lagos State, Hassan Taiwo Soweto and Oloye Adegboyega Deniji, on Friday. Nurse Abiodun Thomas is said to be a prominent activist and critic of President Bola Tinubu's policies, as well as the conduct of the Nigerian police. According to the statement, she has been involved in seeking justice for victims of domestic and sexual violence in Lagos State. Earlier, community organizer for Take It Back movement, Osatoame Ewohon, joined us and gave us more insights into the issue.
A direct order from Abuja, and we also strongly believe that it is not just the PPRO or the IG of police that is involved in this adoption, I like to call it. President Tinubu is also involved in it, because the video of which they are claiming that they are arresting her for, they kidnapped her for, is a video where she was raining curses and swears on Tinubu, his family, the IG of police, the PPRO of the police force, like we do every Sunday. It is common that Nigerians, because they are not violent people, they take their anger and put it into curse and swear, and that is what she did on that's what they are claiming she did, and it's apparently a crime to swear for your enemies.
A break will do here on the news. When we return, reconciliation meeting outcome, Polytechnic lecturers suspend strike after deal with the Nigerian government. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Let's now tell you that the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, once more has ruled out the need for mercenaries to support the armed forces of Nigeria in fighting terrorists and criminal groups in the country. Musa, who stated this in Abuja, also revealed that the Nigerian army has started assembling its own armored personnel carriers. He noted that the military was rising or is rising to the occasion, stressing that though the nation's armed forces are trained in conventional war, they have adjusted to the asymmetric nature of insurgency tactics. He stressed the need for the federal government to provide modern and sophisticated weapons and military hardware to the armed forces of Nigeria in order to win the war against terrorism and other emerging security threats confronting the nation. And now to discuss this, we're joined by security analyst Fidelis Odobe. Thank you so much, Mr. Odobe, for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege.
So would it be retrogressive for the Nigerian government to contract mercenaries to assist the Nigerian military in dealing with insurgency in the country?
The deployment of mercenaries in warfare has been of a non-age procedure all over the world. But at the stage we are now in fighting our terrorism, I don't think that that's the best option Nigeria can actually execute. Because we find out that international law also did not give that absolute approval, even though we can say that there are no absolute prohibition of the deployment of mercenaries in the urban and conventional warfare as we have it today. Because you look at the International Convention on the use and the training of mercenaries it has to do with warfare. It defines a mercenary as an individual who participates in the issue of warfare, but it's not and the purpose that drive the mercenaries are for private gains. So for that reason, it becomes very, very, not acceptable at this point in time in Nigeria for us to begin to employ these private mercenaries because they don't have the loyalties of the country. They are not protected under international humanitarian law. For example, a mercenary cannot be regarded as a combatant or given the privileges of a combatant. He does not also enjoy the privileges of prisoners of war. So the stage we are now fighting the terrorism, I believe that there is a need for us to empower military, give them the necessary assistance they require so that they can actually drive this forward to logical conclusion.
But then in Sierra Leone 2002, Central African Republic in 2013, Mozambique in 2021, these countries contracted private security companies to help in dealing with insurgency in their countries, and they succeeded without negative repercussions. So why would you say that that should not be an alternative?
We cannot say that they succeeded without repercussion because the mercenary does not actually go to the issue of the root causes of terrorism or insurgency anywhere in the world. Because you look at our national counter-terrorism strategy of 2016, in 2014 that was revised in 2016, as well as the policy framework and national plan of action for countering and preventing of terrorism and extreme violence in Nigeria, it not actually create such opportunity for us to deploy mercenaries. Because you look at the issue of terrorism or combating terrorism is not all about the use of military power. There are other soft powers which America can call today the human security or the soft power. The combination of the soft power and the military power in combating terrorism and violent terrorism anywhere in the world. So the mercenaries can only go after terrorism by the use of that hard power, but it does not actually go down to the root causes of this violence act. I believe that in Nigeria there is other human security component, issue of education that can actually enable our community develop that resilience to fight terrorism. If you look at that, the policy framework for combating violent and preventing violent extremism in Nigeria, number one objective of that document is to ensure that there is institutionalization as well as mainstream coordination of preventing and countering violent extremism, enabling the communities and individuals to develop capacities and resilience against these negative trends and not make the members of community easy recruitment for terrorism. Education is also another part of instrument in use we can deploy in counter-terrorism operations. We have issue of political security, economic security, food security, the human security component. So the mercenaries are not well equipped to deploy this human security component in fighting terrorism. They only concentrated on the issue of the hard power, and that hard power does not in any way go a long way in ensuring that we defeat the violent extremism. Because all these countries we have just mentioned, you still know that there are still pockets of violence within that environment because they only concentrated on the issue of the hard power without looking at the soft power component in counter-terrorism operation.
Okay, well, the Chief Defense Staff also, talked about the need for the provision of sophisticated weapons to deal with terrorism in the country. But of course, you would agree with me that billions of naira were voted for the Nigerian army by the past and the current administration for this cause. What is the situation, or what are the challenges when it comes to funds and the procurement of the kind of ammunition needed to deal with insecurity? Is it that it's inadequate, or what?
Looking at even Section 14, Sub 2 of 1999 Constitution made it very clear that the primary purpose of government is the security and the welfare of the people and ensuring popular participation of people in the governance. There are no amount of money you can actually deploy in our security for us to say that that amount of money is enough for us to actually say that we are giving the military enough. I believe that the one that has been given to military, we can see that there's enough of improvement in terms of counter-terrorism operations, especially in the northeast, if not this recent issue that we're having in northwestern part of Nigeria. I believe that as we continue to develop the capacity of our military, as well as other components that enables us to fight this issue of insurgency, I believe that military can as well do more. Because the deployment of this machinery to a very large extent will kill the morale of our military because there are private contractors, which is the driving force in their loyalty is issue of gain and profit. And they always have this contract in a way that they believe benefit more, are being paid more of the equivalent rank within the ranks of the military. And I also believe that there's a need for civilian relationship and look beyond the acquisition of Tucano jets and other hardware. Let us also look at the soft power component of counter-terrorism operation and in preventing violent extremism within the ranks within Nigeria and other components. So it's not only about the issue of deployment of the military. I believe that the military can also look at the other components. Even the National Counter-Terrorism Strategy of 2016 made Nigerian Police Force as the lead agency. The question is, where is the Nigerian Police Force today in this counter-terrorism operation and other civilian relationship to ensure that we can actually defeat this issue of terrorism? And I believe that as we continue to develop the capacity of our military, we continue to increase more funding for the military. The military has the capacity to ensure that we build their morale and they will drive this issue of counter-terrorism to its logical conclusion and give us the peace that we desire in this country.
Okay, so you talked about developments of the capacity of the military. Now that there is the local assembling of armored personnel carrier, do you think that things will change and improve?
I believe that if Nigeria can actually begin to look inward to see how we can actually source our capacity within the country, within the ranks of this military, the military, their morale, they will have a moral boost to ensure that they defeat this issue of terrorism. And the issue of this capacity is the result of development of this capacity that have given the military this opportunity to ensure that they can actually, manufacture their own armored carrier and other technology that were required in this counter-terrorism operation. I believe that as we continue to enhance the capacity of this military, not only in terms of hardware, continue to maintain, and also give them the capacity in terms of their civil relationship, so that the members of the community can actually develop the resilience, support our military in this war against terrorism. And in the issue of the human security component, let us also gauge the community-based organization into the counter-terrorism operation, begin to develop the civilian relationship between the communities and our military, and I believe that Nigerian military has the capacity and the ability to ensure that we defeat the insurgency in this country. Okay,
so finally, before I let you go, earlier on you talked about non-kinetic approach to dealing with insurgency in Nigeria, but Nigerians have questioned overly that why would insurgents or terrorists be pardoned and not made to face the full wrath of the law? Is it because they surrender?
And you know that in counter-terrorism operation, there is other components. The issue of the radicalization approach we have taken. The radicalization process in terms of forgiving, to a very large extent, will also make some of these terrorists to surrender their arms and come back to the society. And if they are given the requisite training and enough education that can actually give the counter-narrative to what the terrorist is giving to them, I believe that they become more useful to be part of the society. And we have to go back to the society and begin to fight the root causes of this insurgency in the first place. That's why I'm talking about the no kinetic approach, the human security component within our community, so that they cannot no longer become easily recruitable by these insurgents and terrorist organizations, and they become more useful to the members of the society. So finally, to conclude on this, it is better that we begin to deploy the no kinetic approach to begin to develop the community resilience to ensure that our people are aware, more informed, economic power is being given to them, so that they can easily participate within the confines of security attention in this country. Because the policy framework and national action plan for the preventing and countering violent extremism of 2017 actually made it in a way that the terrorism or counter-terrorism operation of preventing violent extremism is part of the national, the state, as well as the local environment. I don't think that we're actually doing much within the local space to ensure that our communities are being carried along in the preventing and countering insurgency in this country.
Okay, thank you so much, Fidelis Odobe, security analyst, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much. A privilege to be here today.
All right. Away from security matters, we talk education. Polytechnic lecturers under the aegis of Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, ASUP, have suspended their 2-week strike after reaching a new agreement with the federal government. The union directed its members to resume work across the country on Monday, December 16. In a statement signed by ASUP President Shamak Panja on Friday in Abuja, ASUP explained that the decision to suspend the strike followed a new memorandum of understanding reached at a conciliation meeting with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment on December 9. Among their concerns include the violation of the Federal Polytechnics Act, non-review of the contentious and suspended document entitled schemes of service for polytechnics, and conditions of service. And now to health matters, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization has launched a relief initiative aimed at alleviating malnutrition in flood-affected communities in Maiduguri, northeastern Nigeria. News Central's Lakurawa reports that the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations distributed locally produced nutritional supplements to thousands of vulnerable individuals, particularly children and pregnant women who have been severely impacted by flood in Borno State. The FAO representative emphasized that this initiative is crucial for not only providing immediate relief, but also building resilience within these communities, ensuring that they have access to nutritious food in long term.
We are here today in a community called Gonigamdari in MMC, behind the railway quarters in Maiduguri. The community are being affected by this September 10th flood. So in continuation with FAO support, FAO are here today to support 1,000 under 5 children with supplementary food known as Tombran. Tombran is a locally made supplement that can help children in preventing under 5 children on malnutrition. This support that FAO is giving of 12,000 pack of Tombran, 12 pack per household, it will help that child in order to have a balanced diet that a child need, a under 5 child need.
Now, with unemployment rates still high in Nigeria, job seekers are turning to a new and powerful tool, that is the social media. Platforms like LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and TikTok are not just for entertainment anymore. They are now avenues for career advancement, job hunting, and networking. In this report, News Central's Chidima Ona explores how Nigerians are leveraging social media to land jobs. You can hear from those who have turned posts into paychecks and get the opinions of everyday Nigerians on the streets.
Influencers to everyday job seekers. The possibilities of utilizing social media platforms are endless for those willing to leverage these platforms strategically. Meet Olive Emodi, a social media influencer who has transformed her talent for creating relatable content into a thriving career. She shares how social media continues to open doors for young talents, providing them with unprecedented opportunities to kickstart their careers.
There are some children whose talents have been launched on social media, gifted singers, actors, performers, and social media has afforded them an opportunity to showcase their talent in a place where the world has become a global village. So we've seen directors, producers around the continent finding their next talent on social media.
Social media isn't just for influencers. Eunice Eze, a remote product designer, says LinkedIn and YouTube helped her secure her dream job. Eunice shares how regular updates to her profile and showcasing her projects online led to her getting freelance gigs.
Moving on to 2022, I also did HNG. But while I was doing all these things, I was getting like little freelance contract jobs for companies to just maybe design something, design a website, or work with them for a month and stuff. So I was just watching YouTube videos, being part of internships, and yeah, that's how I built the skill of being a designer. The most important thing aside all these things is yourself. So if I did not push myself to do all this, I mean, because I was spending money on data, I was spending my time, and I was not really getting like any job. So you have to just be patient with yourself, trust yourself, and push yourself to keep doing it.
But it's not all about the elite professionals or influencers. On the streets of Lagos, everyday Nigerians are sharing how social media has made a difference in their job searches.
Personally, I would say the job I'm on currently with an international company, I got that because I have access to the internet and I was able to access that on LinkedIn.
In LinkedIn now, you get jobs in LinkedIn. Even on Instagram, some people just go their way, they'll post and like say, okay, this is one job opportunity, and I think so.
While social media is transforming Nigeria's job market, making it more accessible, experts warn job seekers to tread carefully due to scams and fake job postings. In Lagos, reporting for News Central, I am Chidinma Ona.
In Africa, we tell you that a press briefing held by Mayor of Dakar in the capital city of Senegal, Barthélemy Diaz, quickly broke down when police entered the hall and journalists were made to leave. The police officer spoke to Diaz, who was then removed from the town hall and put into his car to head home. This comes as Senegalese prepare to vote in parliamentary polls on Sunday, 8 months after electing new leaders promising profound political change. The 7.3 million registered voters will choose whether to hand a parliamentary majority to newly elected President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and his Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko. Now, at least 24 people have been killed and 30 others injured in the latest wave of attacks by the Rapid Support Forces on rural areas in Sudan's Al Jazeera state. The RSF has been targeting villages in eastern Al Jazeera since October 21, retaliating against the defection of their former commander, Abul Akla Kikel, who joined forces with the Sudanese army. These ongoing attacks have led to the deaths of thousands of civilians and displaced over 400,000 people. This latest violence follows a similar attack in August when the RSF raided Al Adnab and Sarian, killing over 40 people and wounding dozens. Now, a court in Namibia on Friday granted 2 opposition parties the right to inspect material from the country's recent disputed election. They have claimed there were irregularities in the presidential and parliamentary polls held on November 27. Namibia's ruling party, Southwest Africa People's Party, SWAPO, won both the votes, extending its 34-year grip on power. The Independent Patriots for Change were joined by the Landless People's Movement in courts in a bid to access the data. They said they wanted to see it in order to substantiate their allegations and potentially launch a legal challenge against the validity of the election. Following Friday's ruling, Namibia's Electoral Court ordered the Electoral Commission to provide the parties with the information by next week. This includes documentation of the number of votes cast and counted at each polling station. Outside of Africa, we tell you that South Korea's members of parliament have voted to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol as thousands of protesters on the streets of Seoul cheer the results. Yoon will be suspended while the Prime Minister will serve as acting president. The Constitutional Court now has 6 months to rule on the impeachment. A total of 204 members of parliament approved the motion to impeach Yoon, who plunged the country into political turmoil with a short-lived martial law declaration last week. Yoon survived an impeachment vote last weekend and has clung to power despite mounting calls for him to step down. Yoon and his allies are currently under investigation for insurrection charges, and a travel ban has been slapped on several of them. Let's now tell you that a former Manchester City footballer is set to be appointed president on Saturday by Georgia's disputed parliament after 16 days of pro-EU protests that have swept the country. Mikhail Kavelashvili is a former member of parliament from the increasingly authoritarian ruling Georgian Dream Party and the only candidate for the job. The 4 main opposition groups have rejected Kavelashvili and have boycotted parliament, insisting that the elections held in October were rigged. Georgia's outgoing pro-Western president, Salome Zurabichvili, has condemned Kavelashvili's election, insisting she holds Georgia's only remaining legitimate institution. Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze has accused the president of trying to harm Georgia's interests, emphasizing that when her term of office ends on December 29, she will have to retire. Let's talk business now. African leaders have been tasked to equip women on the continent with the right tools and resources to lead the continent's formal and green economy. This call was during the maiden edition of the African Women Sustainability Conference held in Abuja, the nation's capital, focusing on empowering women on the continent as catalysts for sustainable growth and development. Experts at the conference say despite the contribution of women in business, especially the informal sector, they continue to face severe financing gaps amounting to about 42 billion naira.
Women constitute approximately 50% of Africa's population and own about 58% of Africa's MSMEs. Yet, according to the AFDB, we face a $42 billion financing gap. This isn't just unequal. Again, it's like leaving half of your talented players at the bench during the most important match of our time.
Women are the backbone of African informal economy. Still, we must go beyond recognition and equip them with the tools, resources, and opportunities to lead the formal and green economies. This conference is a call to action. It reminds us of the immense potential for green investment opportunities within the Federal Capital Territory. Let us ensure that our women entrepreneurs are equipped and empowered as catalysts for sustainable growth.
In sports, the Northwest Soccer League's BFC has signed Super Falcons attacker Azeezat Oshoala for the 2025 campaign. After their inaugural NWSL campaign, the team kept 25 players, including Oshoala. The 30-year-old who left Barcelona Femení to join BFC in January has led them in scoring during the 2024 campaign. Oshoala is a 6-time CAF African Player of the Year champion. Her prolific goal-scoring and leadership qualities have made her a key figure for the club as they prepare for the new season. We also tell you that Philippe Diallo has won re-election as president of the French Football Federation following a vote held in Paris. Diallo initially replaced Noël Le Gray, who stood aside amid investigations into his conduct back in January 2023. Having taken interim charge, Diallo was then elected to complete Le Gray's term in office back in June 2023. Heading into the votes, Diallo was the marginal favorite to continue in his role. The result means that Diallo now has a 4-year term and will serve as president of the FFF until December 2028. Now, players, coaches, and officials react to the UEFA preliminary draw with 54 nations set to battle it out for 16 sports at the FIFA World Cup 26. 4 of the 12 qualifying groups completed the sports. The remaining 8 sections will only have a confirmed Pot 1 team after matches UEFA Nations League quarterfinals, as outlined in more details in the draw procedures.
No, we're in a group of 5. It's a difficult group. I think with Serbia has always strong players, strong individual, technical, very emotional national team and nation, very proud. Albania, for me, a little bit the same. Both have 2 famous ex-players as coaches. And then we have a new experience with Latvia that we never played before, and Andorra. And of course, like most difficult is the qualification. If you want to reach your goal at the World Cup, you have to qualify.
On en a 7 potentiels, donc voilà, groupe de 4, groupe de 5, ça dépendra du résultat de notre quart de finale. Donc on en sait un peu plus, mais on ne sait pas encore. Il faudra attendre le résultat des quarts de finale du mois.
Ma non lo so se sarà buono oppure no, bisogna vederlo poi durante il calcio giocato. Secondo me ci sono delle squadre attrezzate in tutti e 2 i gironi che siamo finiti, perché poi io conosco benissimo Ciccio Calzona.
And that's all at this hour, but before we go, let's look at our top stories again. Death toll from Gombe herders attack rises to 5. Defense chief rules out need for mercenaries to fight terrorists. 24 killed in Sudan as rapid support forces attack Al Jazeera state, thousands displaced. Don't forget to watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Evo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.